I think this week we've seen from the governor a willingness to work with the other branches of government. I think I even read this morning further comments by him that he is open to and wants to study legislative ideas. So it looks like we're off to a good start in terms of cooperation between the branches of government. I really appreciate that. I know that this morning, I think over on the House side, House Bill 1002, there was some information given out about a bipartisan effort in regarding the Indiana Career Council, the establishment of that. So I guess in that spirit of continuing the hopeful cooperation between the executive branch, legislative branch, and then a bipartisan cooperation within the General Assembly, I'd like to talk about some parts of our Indiana Senate Democrat agenda that we think fits in with the goals that everyone has been talking about. And I think you've been given sort of a recap here of what our agenda stands for, and we sort of break it down into various categories, including jobs and economic success, rebuilding Main Street from the ground up, and also training for tomorrow. But I want to highlight in each of those categories some bills that we think specifically should be considered by the General Assembly in moving forward and meeting all these goals that I've talked about. And as far as jobs and economic success goes, the governor's right. You know, creating jobs is job one. We're right there with him. And we've looked at ways. He talked about the veterans programs and the veteran set aside of 3% for state contracts. We've had bills to do that for several years now, so we think that he can use our bills. Senator Arnold has Senate Bill 271 right there with it, 3% set aside for veteran-owned businesses. Senator Skinner, you're going to hear me mention his name several times today, and one of his bills, Senate Bill 504, also would provide employer tax credit incentives to hire returning vets. And that not only, of course, is a good economic development tool. These veterans return, and they have a lot of things they can add to our economy, obviously. But unfortunately, when we look at the returning veterans' unemployment rate, they have a higher rate than the rest of the state, too. So it addresses that. And we certainly have a duty owed to them for their service they've given to our country. On our training for tomorrow plank of our agenda, the governor talked about full-day kindergarten. Well, Senator Talion has Senate Bill 469, which will require Hoosier children to attend full-day kindergarten and to ensure that they receive this early education which is necessary for successful careers in becoming adults. And this would not only get that program going, it would provide for the funds to make sure that every school district can afford to do this and make up for the gap that currently exists there. Now, one of the other things which we were glad to hear the governor address, and he does talk about some monies for this, but this has been a problem which has almost gotten to the breaking point now, and that is the issue that local communities are having in keeping up with their infrastructural needs, and in particular roads and streets. If you go, I bet if you went to almost any city or town council meeting or a county council meeting and asked them where they stand in terms of roads, streets, bridges, culverts, they're going to say, we don't have the money. We need, and the problem obviously here is the more you neglect those problems, the worse they get. So it's the old, you can pay me now or pay me a lot more later that we're facing at this point. So we were glad to hear the governor talk about those infrastructural needs. We have bills that we think can assist in that whole discussion. Senate Bill 150, Senator Skinner is really the sort of, he's been the point person on these issues. And his Senate Bill 150 would provide for a revolving loan fund from which communities could draw to assist in doing the infrastructural needs for bridges, roads, culverts. It would provide that the interest rate, very low interest rates to be paid back on those loans, not more than 2%. And he has an appropriation in that bill, but obviously that would be all part of the discussion finally in the budget too. probably going to be more than what he put into that particular bill, but that was just I think, sort of a placeholding type of a figure that he has $1.5 million. We know it'll take more than that to really assist cities and towns. He really wants to help in another bill, Senate Bill 440, I want to talk about, which is a bill which would say that on the sales tax on gasoline, any amount of sales tax on above $3 per gallon, the incremental amount over $3 per gallon, would go to locals to help them with local roads and streets. This would mean the fiscal estimate on this would be in 2014 alone about an additional $50 million that would be available to local roads and streets to help them with those projects. And Senator Skinner has, he's been very creative. He probably has 3 or 4 ideas on how we can really assist local units of government in terms of these needs. I've talked to him, and he is very hopeful that Senate Bill 440 that I just talked about is going to be able to move forward to the system. So we're sort of showcasing that at this particular time. So again, just some of the agenda of the Indiana Senate Democrats that we think fits right in with what you've been hearing the discussions this week about. We're going to be seeking these to be included in the ideas. We're very glad to hear the governor say that he's looking forward to all ideas coming out of the General Assembly, and we think these are ones that can be addressed in a bipartisan fashion and really be good for the state of Indiana.